Namaste. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about, sorry, just getting comfortable here, my experience with COVID over the last little while with coronavirus. It was interesting in many aspects, in that I'm fairly safe in my ways, because I live by myself, I work from home, so I'm not like traveling on public transport or going to the office every day or something like that. But I also have been to many gatherings over this time where we haven't used any masks, we've hugged, we've even shared joints and things like that. And all has been totally fine, it's like I haven't had any problems. It's at a gathering of 200 people over December, and yeah, this is, my body sometimes I could feel my body was getting new information it's never received before, and I always appreciated that. It was like my nervous system was talking to other people's nervous systems, or immune system was talking to other people's immune system, and there was an exchange of information around this illness, which is it was new information that I was getting. And then I met a friend of mine who he had been vaccinated twice and had 2 shots, and the one I think was 10 or 15 days, he said, previous to meeting me, the last shot. And I went home, and within 3 hours of meeting this man, I started to feel ill. That was really interesting in itself, And that's a whole different discussion, one that is being had by many people on earth at the moment, and maybe a worthy conversation to have, to see if there is something to protect ourselves around people who are vaccinated, besides the possibility that they're not yet, the first weeks, whatever, they're not fully immune themselves. That's one possibility, but there, of course, there's more other possibilities that the vaccination itself might have some residual product in it that could be affecting us, and it's not necessarily because they're not quite yet immune to COVID. So that's an interesting discussion, but I'm going to leave it there because that's not what I feel like having right now. I want to talk about my experience with COVID. So, however it came to me, and it looked like it come very much from this vaccinated person, but that doesn't matter to me, because the experience of this illness has been a profound gift for me. A profound gift for me. And I could talk about it in great detail, what happened, but I would like to just give you kind of the essence of it. So the essence of it was that it drops you into the underworld. And what do I mean by underworld? The underworld in this case is into like the deep dark matter of your body, the unconscious realms of your being. Now, I've been going through a deep journey where maybe 9 years ago I started to have some severe breakups with my community, with my guru, and then with my partner. And my heart honestly was shattered. I'm a Leo woman, so we are very like warm-hearted people if you meet Leos. And if you're interested in astrology at all, my heart lies in a certain vibration of Venus, a very fine vibration. So I have my path, Asha always asks, are you on the path of meditation or are you on the path of love? And I'd answer, I wondered for a while, I didn't know it, but now I definitely know. I'm on the path of love. So I have this very sensitive heart, and a heart that has tremendous capacity for love. But if you've lived a little while and you've met people who love deeply, you also will find they can get quite wounded in the heart more than others who maybe don't love as deeply because they give so much of themselves sometimes. Like, I don't even want to say that, it's so cliched, hey? But it's like I have a kind of heart that just keeps forgiving. No matter what people do, I tend to forgive. And I sense like if I don't forgive, I can't live. Because if I get separated from my heart, which essentially started happening 9 years ago and got worse and worse after each split with someone I deeply loved, I separated from my heart. And so you think the agony of separating from the person you love is strong, but actually the agony from separating from your own heart is much, 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 much worse. For someone whose center is their heart, such as myself, it's like a death sentence. You know, the desire to live leaves you, you know, if you can't feel your heart as a heart-centered person. And some people are more mind-centered, some people are more sex-centered, some people are more belly-centered. I don't know if there's any one kind of centering, but I'm the love type. And that's been my challenge, where other people, you know, might be upset and never forgive. I always come back to forgiveness. I can't help it because I have to come back to love. I can't come back to forgiveness. I can't come back to love. I can't come back to my heart. It might not mean I always will re-engage the person if they've been truly cruel or disloyal to their word. For me, it's important that the friends I relate to are in alignment between their word and their action. I like alignment. You know, there's always exceptions. We will break promises. We will not be able to keep the word, but the word, if it's spoken from the body, it normally can. The causality is normally it can arise in the form if it's in alignment. And if someone never keeps their word, it means actually their word is not in alignment with their soul, and they just speak words that they think you might like to hear at the time. A lot of fear-based people do that. So I was really struggling with coming back to my heart. And then in 2.5 years ago, I went to India and I sat with a guru called Shanti Mahi. I love her so much. This woman is wonderful, but she is, like, in terms of mischievous guru nature, she's the top of the top. Like, I've met all kinds of mischievous gurus, but this one is she's got her very own flavor. She's a fierce guru. She really is fierce. Like, so fierce that I like to go to her satsang just to watch. Like, what is she going to do now? How is she going to take this person on now, you know? So I like to just go and watch her, watch how she interacts, watch how she touches people's egos, how she triggers people. And sometimes I'm just like going to be completely quiet. And like, I don't want to be the focus. I don't want to focus on me. I just want to observe her, you know. She's really, you know, I make this light this around her, but she's powerful. She's a powerful woman, and she gets through, you know. And so one of my heartbreaks was around my guru because of our split and all what followed. And I'd spoken to different people about this in some ways, but as a Leo-hearted woman, even speaking about someone you love, even if they've been really nasty to you, and then you speak about it, it feels from my side like a betrayal. So I did attempt it, but I didn't get much awareness from people, actually. And I think that's also something interesting, like, who do you speak to about what's going on in you? And do you just get like someone who hears you, I hear you, you know, which is lovely? Or do you get someone who can actually help? So in my view, that's what a true guru is, or a true, you can even call it a true therapist sometimes. It's someone who actually can help, you know, not just someone who listens like a good friend, you know. People don't really seem to know that difference. So I told her, you know, I didn't want to mention his name, and I didn't want to make a whole thing about it with the people listening. And I didn't mention either what happened or why my heart was so broken. I just told her how I felt in the moment. And I said very few words, but she got me deeply. She got me. And her response to me was simply her heart talking to me. So we had a few words, just I felt her compassion, which I really needed to feel. Like I really needed to feel her compassion. And then her heart just started talking to me. It was like, come on, come back. And her heart was kind of calling my heart back. And I had my heart just opened in this moment. And you realize, wow, my suffering is not so much what happened with this man, but the separation from my own heart. As it's always been. The suffering is always that, really. Of course, we can miss people and long for them and be sad about the circumstances of the ending, whether it was a sudden death or a sudden breakup death, without coffee or good talks or understanding or unraveling this moment together. Like I always feel that the beginning of a relationship, the ending should be as sweet and as kind and as beautiful as the beginning. I have this need for slow endings. It doesn't mean you don't end it. It just means you do it in a way that is beautiful for my nervous system and beautiful for your nervous system, so that we can love again. Because my experience with breakups and stuff in this dynamic, and it's not like this for everyone, but my experience has been breakups are a bit like wars, and people so salt in the ground, so that there's no more fertile ground. So though they don't want to be with you anymore, they don't want anyone else to be with you either, and they're going to leave in such a violent and vicious and unkind way that you're going to be so reticent to journey with another again. So I see people end things like that. Well, I always try to leave people better than I find them. I'm a bit like that. Some people go to the beach and clean up plastic. I tend to do that with my lover partners. I try to leave them better than I found them. It's my desire, my intention, my love, my work on this planet in a way. Let them move on better. Let them learn something from me, and whoever they love next would obviously benefit from that. But alas, it's not always in both directions. So who knows what their intention may be. So here we come to present day, COVID. And what COVID starts to do, it works in the lung area where the old grief lives. A lot of the old stagnant grief is sitting here. And it starts to go into the heart. Like my heart got really sore. In my very heart chakra, the first symptom I got was acid. Acid was coming out of my heart chakra. Because I tried the last years so much to come, I went to Shanti Mai, I did many things to try to come back into my heart. I knew I had to. Forgiveness, all these things. Yet, there was still something keeping me away from the heart. And here came COVID, coronavirus. And it takes you into these dark places. You start to feel all the childhood stuff, where in my case I didn't feel properly cared for or held as a baby. It took me into the baby state. I became the baby who doesn't get held, long enough when she cries to be held. And how that leaves a kind of tear in oneself, where after that everything does actually feel too fast. All the goodbyes. This need to be held and cherished and cared for. So it takes you into those kind of childhood spaces where there's so much anger and hurt and tears. It took me in there. I started to feel it, and it came into form in the COVID. The baby who didn't get held manifested as a physical pain form in my body. No matter what I did, when I try to sleep, and you have to sleep, you're so tired because you're so in the body, you can't get out the bed, your body, you're just in the body. And I was in so much pain, and I couldn't find any place to sleep. And then I just started to comfort the baby and rock the baby. I did this literally on my hips and my heart and my belly, and it just comforting, just rocking it. Like a mama would. And this pain just started to disappear. It just started to disappear. But just before that, about 4 days after this thing began, I had read a story, which I might share in a separate post, by Dr. Estes, called the Matchstick Girl, about a very young girl who has no parents, and she sells little matchsticks for pennies to try to survive, and no one wants to buy these matchsticks from her, and eventually she freezes to death. And then the grandmother comes. She has the fantasy of the grandmother fetching her. And Dr. Estes says, hey, where was the wild nature of this little girl who didn't sell the matches but used them for warmth, that found a place to hide in, to protect herself, that found a way to live, My view was like, oh, beautiful, the grandma come to fetch the little girl as she's dying. It's kind of beautiful. But Dr. Estes, who tells the story, says, no, where's this little girl's wild nature that fights for her life? I read the story just before. And on the Thursday night, the fourth day, I woke up in a dream where my whole system was being overrun by aliens. And I was sort of like in a dying state. I don't think I was actually, but it was like that's how the mind saw it. And the story was in me, and it's like something just stood up in me and fought. Like, this is my body. You can't take it over, And the next day, my temperature had dropped, my coughing had changed. I could see I wasn't in danger on the Friday, so that was quite quick. And on the Saturday, the celebratory energy, this bliss celebration started to rise in me. It was like, okay, you did it, let's party. Something was in me. And also on that day, something of the energy of the COVID. It's a very strong energy, by the way. Like I was feeling all kinds of spiraling movements through my brain, expanding and through the body. It's like a very energetic illness. For me, it was. And then I started to see how the COVID's the mother. It's a medicine and it's the mother. And I started seeing the mother everywhere, in every leaf, in every flower. I just saw the mother. She's come to try to help me with something. But the only way to help me was to take me into this underworld, into the unconscious, into ancient memory of this life, my life. And I saw it. It's the mother. I was so grateful. And the celebration comes. And then, being the nutter that I am, I am a crazy woman in some ways. Tantric training, or whatever you want to call it. I'm like, no, wait, I know there's more. You're saying I'm done with you already. Can't be true. I know there's more. Please don't go yet, I ask. Coronavirus, don't leave me yet. There's more. I know. I don't want to just do it halfway, And so she comes back and I get more sick again. But not as bad as before. But, and I'm not going to go into this story because it's very tender and vulnerable, I do land up accessing maybe the darkest place in my being I've ever accessed. That took me a week of just processing. And even now, if I go out too long, and when I did go out the first day, I felt like this absolutely newborn, tender little baby. So tender, so raw, so newborn. Every feeling is just rippling through me, energy was spiraling through me. It's just reborn. So some people call it an ascension. I see we descend into the feeling state. So something undefended can be reborn in us. Then for me, was very much about the very young self, the under 6-month-old self that felt she needed to have more care than what was given her. Little Leo cub, it needed more love from her mommy and daddy. Yeah, so I went back in. 7 days later, came out this newborn. I'm still in it a bit. It's not completely gone, the energy of it, the working of it. I think it might work through me over some time now, but quite gently, because It actually feels like a medicine theater. I did a Noira recently, and this feels similar and actually stronger. And in it, so 1 or 2 times or whatever, I was going, oh my goodness, it's like I've just drunk ayahuasca. I was like in an ayahuasca state. And I recognize the mother also from the ayahuasca states. So medicine, it's a theater, it's a deep, deep journey into the underworld. People don't contact you much. It's like you're meant to be left alone in it. But it's scary because what happens if I had to die, You have these silly thoughts, but then they disappear because your mind there's not enough energy for your mind to function normally. So your mind kind of goes to sleep, just like in ayahuasca, and you get to be in the underworld of your body. Very, very powerful. Please don't take this video as any kind of you should get COVID. I don't know how people think out there in the world, but it's not my message. My message is simply, or not so simply, it's just trying to understand what's going on from a more mystical state, a state of energy, a state of awareness, a state of having gone through the journey deeply myself and being so grateful for it, And there's so many arguments going on about this and that on the planet around it, but doesn't matter to me if it was created in a lab in Wuhan and it's still being created, all the variants. It doesn't matter to me that I got it from a vaccinated person. None of these things matter to me because it was such a gift. And whoever gets this or has ever had it will have a very unique personal journey, though it might have some similarity like around lung and heart, and then as that clears, the crown starts to open on the head. Also, I was rooting more into my sexuality as well. All the centers were starting to operate better, actually. But everyone will have a very unique journey, I sense. And people will respond to different medicines. Like some will, there'll be a bunch who respond to ivermectin. I didn't take this, but I took a lot of anti-inflammatories like turmeric. Turmeric was my go-to. And then also colloidal silver is what I took that and my sense of smell came back. Just like within an hour. So that was quite interesting. So, everybody will have their own things. Also, I sat in the sun a lot and drank my herbal teas and had daffodils, yellow daffodils, because daffodils are good with virus. So I had the spirit of the daffodil flower with me all the time. So, those are quite unusual, I suppose, remedies. The sunshine is always a good one if you got it. Olive leaf extract was helpful. Lots of water. It doesn't want you to eat food. It wants you to drink. So even now, I'm at least 2 of my meals a day are liquid. So I make a liquid soup and raw soup. I make smoothies. I make green drinks for my liver. I'm kind of just doing that, and then maybe having 1 solid meal a day now. And maybe some days I might even skip that. But that's another thing I did. Oh, I've got COVID and I'm going to do a juicing fast. Yes. But I thought, why not? I mean, you don't have much appetite. It's the perfect time because my discipline around juicing times is not very good. And that was very helpful too, beginning healing some things in my body. So some quite strong healing starting to happen in my body. So yeah, still in it a bit, still feeling it, still feeling the energy of it, still even wanting to go deeper into my heart. And that means going deep into the underworld to discover what keeps me out of my heart. But yeah, if you get it, if you're in it, I truly believe it's the mother. So try and meet it like that. And if you have fear, she's going to take you into your fear. And for some people, it's a ticket out of here. It's a death trip. I can't tell you how to do your experience. In my path, in my spiritual path, I've always just tried to turn into what arises for me. and something's so freaking hard to turn into, then I try to turn into it. It doesn't mean I don't take the medicines, I don't do what needs doing to try to help that illness get better. I certainly did all of that. But emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sexually even, turning fully into the journey. Yeah, you're welcome to leave some comments. This is not a discourse at all about rightness or wrongness, or my experience is more right than yours, or I know the way. This is my experience. Your experience might be completely different. You might just experience as a terrible flu or terrible pneumonia that you've had to survive and you're still suffering from. My invitation is just to look deeper into what the arising that's happened to you, and to look at what it's trying to show you, or what it's trying to open in you. That's my invitation. It's not about any kind of, I know anything more than you about this. I just know what my experience is. And I trust it. It was very alive and real and beautiful. And I'm truly grateful to this medicine mama called coronavirus. Truly, truly grateful. And I don't care how it came to me. It doesn't matter anymore. Though, I probably will be more careful around vaccinated people from now on, because my system feels very vulnerable and tender, and I'm not yet quite, I don't know if I'm ready for another ride. Yeah, but I'm sure I have some immunity now. So, that's it. Let's see. You can see I'm still a bit in it. Still not quite well. I'm quite pale. Still finding my way back. But you can also see I am finding it. Blessings on this path. It's a very strong dieta. It's a very strong medicine. Maybe one of the strongest we've met so far. Yeah. Namaste.